Alright guys, such coming again. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's officially November, the new Call of Duty game comes out in the very near future and we have a full CDL schedule ahead of us. Lots of talk though based on the matches that are upcoming for the season. Who's got the best run of things in the qualifiers? Who's got the worst run of things? Do Thieves have it relatively easy compared to the rest? Loads of drama as well in terms of Rostermania going on in challenges. Certainly gearing up for a very entertaining season down there. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Thought this is pretty funny. Couple of other things going on the Halloween day yesterday as well, such as this one, for example. But let's talk about a couple of things on the COD League side. One update to give you all is on what's happening in DreamHack Birmingham. So it's been a big talking point the last couple of days. They're running this event, of course, it's DreamHack again in Birmingham. I already said that. Next year, end of March, second event of the season. Now, they have a whole DreamHack event going on, as it was back in Dallas earlier this year, and they have one of the halls is going to be for the Call of Duty stuff. Now, if you get a DreamHack ticket, you can still walk into the Call of Duty arena and watch. You just don't get guaranteed seating necessarily. If you want guaranteed seating, then you pay the additional add-on ticket. They've now all sold out. Now, there will be more to come, because AdamApp was like, hang on a second, we sold way more tickets than we thought in the first, hours, basically. It was almost always sold out immediately, and they didn't even really announce it. That was the crazy thing. It's not like they did this big tweet, the COD League tweeted about it. It was a big, all the tickets go on sale now. It's like, no, they just put them on sale and then they were gone. So AdamApp's like, okay, we need to try and find more space. And he confirms that, yes, we will be able to expand the COD area in line with demand. We'll put up more COD GA tickets next week. So if you guys are looking to go, there's going to be more tickets on sale soon. I think he even might have mentioned that in January they might be doing another few tickets available, but that will be a smaller number. Now, VIP is going to stay sold out. They have a select number of VIP tickets that they have sold. They want to keep that area private, or not private, but you know what I mean. And that's fair enough. Event that you can't miss, right? So it's the classic. Now, challenges. This was another big talking point. The last couple of days, it became noted that I think a 3-day ticket, guaranteed seating, was 109 quid for the 3 days, because it's only a 3-day event, DreamHack, right, as it was in Dallas, rather than the 4 days of a typical COD major, which is one of the reasons why there's only going to be 10 teams there, rather than 12, if you guys didn't see that the other day, because there's an 11-team round-robin set of qualifiers. As we'll see, we'll discuss the qualifiers in a second. In the Major 2 qualifiers, everyone plays everybody else one time. That's not necessarily the case in the other sets of qualifiers we'll get into. But the drama was that you could buy a Challengers ticket and get 5 guaranteed seats included in the Challengers ticket for $479, whatever. Basically less than 5 times the price of an individual ticket. So people did that with no intention of actually playing Challengers. Now, and to be fair, the Challengers tickets often sell anyway early because people want to sell them onto orgs, right? This is like a known thing. People just buy the Challengers tickets, not intending to play. And then when an org, either an org or a team that gets formed closer to the date, it's only the start of November now, right? We're talking the end of March, it's a long time away. So often people just buy up them anyway so they can then sell them on. So they're going to try and address that to a certain extent. All the Challengers tickets are sold out. Anyone that purchased a pass will be required to link their FaZe account and create a roster. So if you bought one, you've got to have a team. And you've got to play, presumably, right? I don't know, it's kind of interesting because as we've said, if you've got you and 4 buddies and you wanted to, effectively take a 10-15% discount by getting a Challengers ticket instead of just buying 5 individual tickets, then what do? Build a roster and just not play? I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? But yeah, effectively, they're trying to find a way that if the purchasing isn't legitimate, if it's not for actual teams. They also did confirm that if you are an actual team, as in if you qualified top 8 in the elite or whatever, there's a couple of guarantees, but effectively you will get a guaranteed pass, right? So they've reserved some guaranteed passes for the teams that will go in as very much competitive rosters. So it's probably going to be fine. It's just been a big talking point the last couple of days. And if any of their purchases do not meet requirements, then they'll put them back into the pool. So I think, as always, Abuzah is on point with keeping the finger on the pulse. This actually was that announcement. Yeah, so 16 of those Challengers passes are getting reserved for the top 8 teams in Challengers Season 1 for both NA and EMEA, Europe, Middle East and Africa. They'll be available following the conclusion of Elite Season 1 on the 22nd of January. So that's the update there. As ever, intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. The other thing to get into is Rostermania in Challengers. Not really Rostermania precisely, But there's a lot of roster stuff happening, and I'm not going to lie, Challenges for a time this year might be more entertaining than the CDL. There are a ton of players down in Challenges. It's actually incredibly exciting. So, I mean, you can talk about the Halo players, obviously. Legend, we think, is going straight to the league. Bound, Renegade, who knows? But we know that Collect, among others, are coming over. There was even this, right? So this guy, Precision, one of Envy's players confirming that he's coming over as well. So tons of players from Halo coming over. They're going to be very exciting. Some of them probably won't be great. Some of them will be. Some of them might get into the league at some point. You've then got kind of the traditional challengers names. We've seen that team yesterday of Sparts, Capsule, Prolute, and then TJ is on that roster as well. So he's going to be fighting for a spot back in the league. And then you've got a load of veterans looking to make a comeback, right? And John, can you believe it, is among them. So we've seen over the last few days, I think Aqua, didn't he confirm that he's looking to come back? Of course, Donnie Temp's looking to make a return as well. Actually, it was funny, all of these guys spent a little bit of time on Legion, which effectively was the death sentence of their career. But John is back. Now, if you guys haven't been around, I mean, it's nearly 10 years ago, Black Ops 3, when John became the world champion and won the MVP at that event with the HVK and other weapons in hand on Envy, right, back in 2016. John, during that era, and to be fair, even before, was a very highly rated player, and for good reason. There's a bit of drama that happened right at the start of the CDL. He did eventually come back briefly in Cold War. On Thieves, they picked him up towards the end of the season. Didn't really go to plan, and he made a couple of cameo appearances, let's say, since then. But the fact that John and Aqua and Temp and these guys are back, it's just such an exciting time down there in Challenges. Because, okay, we usually think about Challenges, watch the players that are coming up and all this. Last season, people started to talk a little bit about Mercules and Courage, and, those guys are still very much there, right? You've got the traditional COD players that are trying to make it, so the guys on presumably whatever the Stallions do for the upcoming season, teams like that. You've got the more veteran names that are trying to fight their way back into the league, like the Prolute Spark team that I just mentioned. You've got the Halo guys, you've got some of the veterans coming back. I mean, who else do we bring back, right? Doug Sensor Martin step back into the ring. It's going to be great because the CDL kicks off just over a month from now, right at the start of December, but during that month, until January, like basically after the 14th, 15th of December, after Christmas, through the new year, there's not really much CDL action, but there is still Challenger stuff happening in that time frame. So it will be great for the scene, I think, to have so many stories and challenges with some of these players seriously returning. But let's talk about the scheduling for next season. So we talked about it the other day, the teams, whoever plays who, right? So the first match is Falcons versus OpTic. We talked about that yesterday. But this is a spreadsheet of who plays who, how many times during the course of the regular season. So I appreciate it's pretty small, but we'll go through some of the details here. So, just from top to bottom, there are loads of qualifiers this year. One of the qualifier stages going into Major 2 is 11, right? So they play 11 qualifier matches. Everyone plays everybody else. So in the Major 2 qualifiers, your favourite team will play their biggest rival, right? That is how it is. So if you guys want to figure that out, you can have a look at the schedule. Now, the first lot is 7 qualifiers, and there's 5 and 5 towards the end of the year with a minor tournament as well for Major 3, Major 4. So the teams will play one another more than appears on this spreadsheet, of course, because they'll play in minor tournaments, they'll play at LAN events, obviously. So OpTic versus Thieves is only happening twice, guaranteed online all year. One of those, of course, in the Major 2 stints, but every team plays 28 matches over the course of the season, guaranteed qualifiers. They will, of course, play more than that in the minors and the majors and all this type of stuff. But the point is that some teams will have just naturally ended up getting slightly hard done by here, right? Because it's not all the same, right? They've not done the qualifier so everyone plays everyone else 3 times. That's not how it is. Actually, the teams play, what is it? They play 6 teams 3 times and 5 teams twice. That adds up to 28. So depending on how that goes, also it does depend on what your roster looks like throughout the season and also what the roster looks like of the opposition, right? For example, at the start of last season, if you'd have played Surge in a qualifier at the start of last year, you'd have been pretty happy. If you'd have played Surge in a qualifier towards the end of last year, not so much, right? So Things obviously do change as the season goes on, but Nastie has a look at the numbers and he has a think about it, right? So he reckons that Ravens, FaZe and Surge have the hardest draws this year. Boston, Thieves and Koi have favourable schedules, Koi of course being Toronto. Ravens have to play FaZe, Falcons, Gentlemates, Koi, OpTic and Thieves minimum 3 times. That's the hardest draw you could get, plus or minus Heretics. So, that is interesting to think about. It's just the way that it's turned out to be in the end. The CDL clearly choose to an extent what the first round, like the first week of matches. It's quite obvious that they're not rigged exactly, but like they are choosing those games, right? Falcons OpTic to start things off, Toronto versus like Miami. It's all too good, right, to be true. And of course, Falcons play like Thieves later in the weekend. Not all of them are exactly like that, but I think there is a lot of that going on. So on some level, it might not make a huge difference, but it could be relevant, right? As BenJ says, if you look at the Ravens, the teams they played twice are Boston, Cloud9, G2, Heretics and Surge. Probably all of those teams you'd really like to play 3 times, right? Apart from maybe Heretics. Whereas, as he said, the team that they play thrice, which is a word, FaZe, Falcons, Gentlemates, Toronto, OpTic and then Thieves, right? So it's pretty much like for Ravens, it is tough. Now for OpTic, the teams they played twice are also Breach Cloud9, Falcons, Gentlemate, and Thieves. So, and then they play FaZe 3 times, Toronto 3 times, etc. So, for OpTic, it's kind of middle of the road, I would say. For Thieves, it's pretty interesting because if you look at Thieves, they play 3 times against Boston, Cloud9, G2, Ravens, and Surge. So, that's pretty good. They also, play FaZe, but they play twice Thieves against OpTic, against Toronto, against Gentlemates. We think Gentlemates should be pretty competitive with that new roster they're forming, Heretics as well, and the Falcons. So also I think Thieves have a pretty good schedule. So I think it's definitely some extremes there. You'd definitely prefer to have Thieves' schedule than Ravens. And of course, if you're a worse team, naturally you're expected to play better teams. So the schedule is always going to look worse for the team that you consider to be one of the weakest, just naturally, because you can't play yourself, right? Like that's the crux of it. So it's very interesting, and tweet your thoughts on that in the comments below. Is that going to make a huge difference as the season plays out, right? I don't think it's going to make a massive amount, but it will be certainly relevant for some of those teams when it comes to Champs qualification. I think it's a bit of a shame that we don't have OpTic versus Thieves 3 times. I think the more that we can get that matchup, the better this year. I think we're going to get plenty of it, though, in the minor tournaments and should be at the majors as well. A good handful, and of course, land's what really matters at the end of the day. So, not too concerned about it, but I think it's pretty interesting. I think OpTic have a pretty middle-of-the-road schedule. Thieves is definitely favourable. Ravens definitely isn't. As I say, if you want to look at everything in detail, feel free to do exactly that. Just a couple of final things to mention. I thought this was interesting from Emmy. She quote tweeted the fact that FaZe are hosting Champs, right? We've now seen this for the last 3 years in a row. OpTic in 24, Toronto and Kitchener 2025, and now FaZe in Vegas 2026. Look, I think in an ideal world, I do kind of agree that Champs should be a neutral hosted event. But, look, does it massively matter? And if it's, at the end of the day, if the fact that a team hosting Champs and them putting in some resources rather than the league means that the league has more money, which it seems that this year they do to a certain extent, to spend on challenger support, right? Because they're running all these open events. Like, Activision don't give Microsoft, they don't give the CDL an infinite budget to run this thing. So, using that intelligently, I think, is for the best. And I think, we've wasted a fair bit of money over the last few years. I mean, let's not think about the bounty matches again. That money could probably have gone to better use. So I think this year, from top to bottom, it feels like they're doing a better job with the resources that they have. And very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. And just one final thing, if you guys have watched for the last couple of years, the craziest moments of the CDL seasons, we've done these on Breaking Point, 2024, 2025. We've got another one cooking up, right? This is going to be an epic video looking back on what was a remarkable season. And it's coming out in a few days' time. We'll see if we beat the process on this one, right? We'll see if we beat the process. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.